Hello, my name's Rebecca and welcome back to the video channel which talks all about budget art. Budget art isn't necessarily bad art, and we're going to showcase lots of budget finds, budget repairs, budget renovations and affordable art so that you can really revolutionise your spring wallscapes, which we're going to talk about in a minute. Had a busy week this week. It's been full of art activity. So I've been to auction. When I go to auction, I generally go online. I go and have a look first, or I look online first. Then I'll go and have an actual physical look, just to check for sizes and things like that. Just see if there's any sleepers, some hidden gems which may have reasons that other people might not buy them. So I just want to be a little bit ahead of the game. And if you can get into your local auction house and have a look before you make any online absent bids, that's absolutely perfect. So I was up at the auction house. I was bidding online on the day of the auction, the afternoon actually of the auction, and I did buy a few budget pieces, which I'll show you one of in a minute. I have been framing, I've been photographing, I've had a few home visits from clients. I have been going down to the framers to collect some things which I'd put in for mounted. Now, look, most of my framing I do myself. I don't make frames. I just marry up pictures that I've got that are the right size for the frames that I've already got. And if there needs to be a little bit of glue or sandwich filling in the middle which holds them all together, it is the mount. Sometimes the mounts are the wrong colour for the picture that you've got, or they have water damaged, or they're somehow stained in another way. So often taking a mount out and replacing it with something complementary is going to be a massive win. So I went into the framers for these Japanese woodcut prints. Now, they're 18th century prints on rice paper. They're really, really lovely. But any lithograph, any print, you can't, unless they're dated, you haven't really got much hope of trying to find out exactly how old they are. So this could be like 200 years old. It is absolutely, and it probably is. I mean, it's gorgeous. The fact that it's in such good condition warranted me putting it in a frame. It was unframed, and I found a pair, because it's part of one of the pair. I found this pair of really lovely natural wood frames, but I needed a mount that would perfectly frame the actual image or fit around the image itself. So I took it down to the framers in my town. While I was there, I had a very eye-opening experience, which I'm just going to share with you briefly. There was a lady ahead of me, and she had taken in to the framers a picture that her mother had done, and it was an unusual one. I'd be interested to know if anybody's come across this before. It was certainly new to me, but it was a wax painting. So she had painted with melted wax, and I from what I could see, it looked like the wax had set in place. Maybe she had treated it with something to stop it from melting in the heat of the sun, which obviously, glass doesn't help to mitigate any heat from the sun. So she was looking for a mount and she was looking for a frame. Now, she claimed to be a complete novice at it, and I didn't want to step in or overstep, because the guy behind the counter, although he wasn't particularly helpful, I totally also understood why he wasn't leading her in her choices. She had to choose the mount that she wanted, because then the mount dictated what frame she would have with it. And if he stepped in and said, I think we should do this, and then I think we should do that, if she's not happy with it, she will turn around and blame that on him. So it was a fairly laboured process. The lady's husband was getting quite twitchy, and I nearly left the shop and came back, but I actually wanted to see how it played out. The picture she had taken in was absolutely no bigger than this. This is just a little pomegranate. I don't know what I'm going to do with this. But anyway, her picture was no bigger than this. He guided her insofar as he showed her the colours of mounts she could have with it. She chose one. She wasn't sure about her choice. She didn't ask me for any opinion. I didn't give her one. Then she chose a mount. Again, the same thing. She chose one that she thought best captured the picture. She didn't make a bad choice. Let me say that flat out. She didn't make a bad choice. And I know the framers will do an excellent job of the mount and an excellent job of the frame, because that is what you are paying for. So there's no doubt it was bespoke. She wanted it for her friend she was going to visit in Italy. She wanted it to be just right. The cost of all of the mount and the frame together, including everything, was £69, just about pennies under £70. And I looked at it and I did a bit of a double take and I thought, wow, so this picture, which was just sitting in a load of my unframed pictures up in the loft, it's got good provenance. It came from a good house that an artist had lived in, but who obviously had an eye for that sort of thing. I mean, as well as being an excellent painter, they obviously could pick a nice, elegant picture when they saw one. So I had the frame. The mount cost me £24, but don't forget, I bought two of them because this is one of a pair of Japanese woodblock prints. The frame I had, I mean, it's cost me somewhere so far down the line that I actually can't remember. But if I had two pictures to frame and mount, and they were going to cost me £70 each to do that, don't forget I had the picture. That's £140. Now, online, I'm going to probably get about 120 for these. So I actually think that's a bit of a bargain. A lovely, lovely vintage frame, a brand new mount, and a woodblock print which hasn't seen the light of day in over 100 years. And I think that's bargain art. So that's bargain art. So what I'm going to talk to you about today is the size of your house. We are going to do a series of videos where I'm going to talk about whether you are maximising the use of the space, the wall space, the blank canvases that you've got around your home. Now, your home is 4 times bigger than you think it is. You've got your floor space in every room or hallway that you go into. And of course, where there's floors, there's walls. So you've got 4 walls around every bit of floor space, give or take doors, give or take windows, give or take radiators, perhaps wall shelves, bookcases, wardrobes, whatever. But let's say that is double, approximately, the floor space that you've got in each room. And I have a feeling that you're not using it to its best, fullest potential. Now, I've been watching a lot of design programs recently, grand designs, interior design masters, things like that, all that sort of stuff that comes on at this time of year because people are thinking about moving house, or they're thinking about putting into practice those extensions, getting building work done in the run up to the summer, or springtime, summer when the rain starts, perfect time for building. Now, my theory about those things is that grand design is a fantastic TV program, but I always end up thinking when they've finished the build and they've kitted it out, they've dressed it, it's too much space. I just think people have too much space. But there's got to be a happy medium between moving house or making a big renovation. And I think the happy medium is actually just concentrating on what you've already got and trying to improve it to its fullest, greatest impression. So think grand impression, not grand design. Think small expense, not grand expense. And I can guarantee it's going to make a difference to your living accommodation, because it's made a massive difference to mine, and I help my clients, and many of whom are interior designers, to do this all the time. So we're going to talk about how you're using your walls. Now, the first thing I want to talk to you about is getting things off the floor that simply don't need to be there. So, for example, just recently I bought, not for the first time I must say, a wall-mounted TV. But this was not any wall-mounted TV. This was a Samsung Art Mode TV. It's called the Frame. Now, Samsung are leading the field. When you think about it, a television these days, a smart TV, which is mostly what people buy now, it's nothing more than a massive tablet, a tablet like you have a computer tablet. But it's great because you can watch terrestrial telly on it, live, it's on your wall, it's in your living room, you can do gaming on it, you can even watch YouTube on it. But my TV, this Samsung Frame, it now has, when it's on standby, instead of just looking like a massive black void in the corner of the room, whereas it is on the wall, it actually cycles through a rotational gallery, which are preset images. They're all famous pieces, they're all by famous artists, but they range through from, let's say, contemporary right the way. I've got a few old masters. So it's a really, really lovely thing. I'm delighted with it, I cannot tell you. But it also gives me an extra bit of floor space, which I've put a chair there now. Now, it doesn't completely obscure the TV, but it couldn't go there before. And I wanted extra seating in my quite small living room. So getting things off the floor and up on the wall if you can is an amazing thing. The other thing, which really changes the aspect in 99% of your rooms, is a mirror on the wall. So a nice mirror with a lamp underneath it. You are immediately going to feel the effect of space, light being bounced around, reflection of what's on the wall opposite. So, for example, in my rooms where I've got a mirror, I've often got a lovely piece of art on the wall. I've also got art on all of my walls. I mean, there isn't a single bit of wall that doesn't have art on it. But where I've got mirrors, they are art neutral, but they reflect. So whichever angle you're coming at your room from, you'll often get a really lovely reflection of a plant, of some flowers, of a piece of art, or whatever it is. So, around the house, I've got a lot of mirrors doing a good job. And I know they're doing a good job because sometimes when I take a mirror down to put a piece of art up just to see how it looks on the wall, when I walk into that room and see the art instead of the mirror, the room immediately feels somehow a bit flatter than it did with the mirror in it, because I'm missing all of that reflection. I'm missing all of the reflected light and the energy and the illusion of space that you get from having a nice big mirror on a wall. Ideally, if you can put it opposite a window, that would be fantastic, because what you want to do is put your pictures where the sun is least glaring in on them. So if you can replace, for example, where you've got faded prints on the wall because they've been full on in the glare of the sun or the light coming through that window in your room, let's say it's a living room, put a mirror there instead. Let the light bounce around off that. The mirror's not going to fade, it's a piece of glass at the end of the day. But move your pictures to places where they're not so obviously lit up by the sun. The mirror will do the rest of the work, amplifying the space in the room and making it all look bright, light, big, be quiet. And then your art can be saved, made to last longer, because it hasn't had the glare of the sun. Whilst I'm going to talk to you about this picture, which I absolutely love, I'm going to give you an example of faded pictures which I have taken out of frames this week. I'll just show you one. But I had removed this week an original watercolour. Now, watercolours are always a little bit feeble, it's got to be said. And whilst when this was new, I think this was painted in the 80s, when it was new, it would have been an absolute joy to behold. It was a proper, lovely, it's a lovely composition. It's a little bit dated, and there's not too much going on. But whoever had this picture in their house, I'm sure they bought it from you, and I'm sure they paid a lot of money for it, and they absolutely loved it. So I absolutely hope they got their money's worth out of it. But I'm going to contrast it with something I bought at auction this week. In fact, I bought a job lot of these, which I'm delighted about because they're lovely. But I'm just going to show you. So this picture, the mount had to go because it was a little bit water damaged, and the picture I can't really recycle, but I'm going to use the frame that it was in to pop this in. Now this is an acrylic, it's an original. It's not signed, which was one of the reasons that I was probably able to buy. There was 12 of them in a portfolio, and they're all mounted. So I was delighted about that because, as we've just discussed, mounts are expensive. But whether you like the image or not, it doesn't really matter. There's a lot more going on in there than there is in this one. Instantly you've got the bolder colours. There's a little bit of interest. You've got the jam jars, they're on a windowsill. The windowsill's looking out over a nice town and also water aspect. It looks like there's a train going over the bridge in the background. So there's a bridge, but there's lots of colour. And that is an acrylic painting. So strictly speaking, that should take a long time to fade. But you still want to keep it out of the light, keep it out of the direct sun. I was really happy with that. The other thing that I saw at auction, which I didn't get involved in, now this was a proper auction. So this was being televised on what they call easy live auctions. Having gone up there and done the viewing, I'd already seen these, I'd already clocked they were not signed. I'd already clocked another couple of things. There was something that had broken glass. Doesn't bother me, I know how easily I can replace that. There were some other pictures which I bought, which to a regular retail buyer, they may not have had an awful lot of interest. And I bought some job lots like these, and I bought some other job lots. But the thing that took my breath away at this auction, which I absolutely cannot tell you about, was the number of Victorian oil paintings of cats that were up for sale in this particular fine art auction. And the estimates had gone in for something like 100 to 200. They were nice frames. The pictures were oils. Oils always realise a good value at auction. But the subject matter, I mean, I've got a dog, as you can hear in the background often, but I love cats. And I know that pictures of cats sell very well. So it really tempted me to have a revisit of some of my cat pictures. Now this little nugget, can you see? He's a ginger tabby on an orangish piney chair. I adore him. 1995, signed. Yes, I wouldn't say he's a watercolour exactly, but he's an original piece of art. In another 150 years, he might also go for £1,600. So some of these pictures of cats, and there was a series of about 20 of them. They must have all come out of the same house. The minute I saw that they were coming up, their lots were coming up, I decided to make that my tea break and go off and have a pee break and then come back because I thought I'm not interested in buying these. But I couldn't believe when I came back in and they were reaching the 1400s and then going on. I absolutely couldn't believe it. So, let me know if you've ever bought a hugely expensive piece of art at auction. I want to hear about that. How did it feel? Because I get nervous. When I bought this job lot, I have to bid at the lower levels. If something begins to if I'm beginning to be bid up by another bidder, I have to back out very quickly. I'm not buying these pictures for me. I'm buying these pictures to make full use of the frames that I've got, the talents and other skills I've got in renovating art, and I can sell them on. And I'm going to sell them on for a modest markup just to cover my costs and my time. I can't take risks of buying something for over £1,000 because I cannot know, like those cat pictures, I cannot know whether they're really worth this sort of cat money, £15, or whether they're worth £1,500. So it's not a risk that I am totally prepared to take. So it was eye-opening and enlightening, and I hope profitable going to auction this week. I don't do it that often, but I really like it, and I wanted to share that experience with you this week. Okay, so I think that's enough chit chat for now. What I'm going to do, I'm going to roll the gallery, and then this time next week, what I'm also going to do, instead of pieces of the week, I'm going to show you what's sold, because we've had quite a good week for sales this week. I say we, I always talk about we when I'm me and the dog, but good week for sales. I've had a lot of packaging and sending stuff out. I've been sending to Germany recently, Canada, had some stuff going to America. So I'm guessing that the exchange rates must be pretty good. Certainly probably what's been going on with Trump has made that so. But we shall see how things go going forward with my new bit. Great. Okay, let's go and have a look at some art.